one of my favorite hunting stories that comes to mind is a story from 2020. It was during gun season in Pennsylvania. I didn't fill my archery tag, and I had to join the Orange Army out with everybody. And it was like after the first weekend and everything, and kind of struggling to find deer and find bucks. And we were sitting at hunting camp, and one of my good buddies, Johnny Stewart, was there, my dad and everything, and we're talking. And Johnny just looks at me, he was like, he's like, why are we both struggling kind of going out in these different spots and hunting? He's like, why don't we just hunt together and have fun with it? And my dad's like, yeah, I'll come with you guys, and like, let's just do it. So we went to one of Johnny's areas, and we noticed there was so much hunting pressure coming in from the top. So we started going down on these side hills. And what we would do is basically go down and set up on the edge of some of this thick cover, and my dad would go and wind bump the deer and come from the other side. And we went to a couple different spots and some places that that Johnny knew really well. And it was fun just getting to hunt with him, who's someone I look up to really. Him and my dad I look up to greatly as hunters, and I learned a lot. And getting to be in a position where my dad came across this hillside and wind bumped this buck that came out, and I shot him at 18 yards with my rifle. So I was in bow range, I shot this buck, and he ended up being my biggest buck to date so far. Just a big mountain buck, 8.5-year-old, 155-inch 9-point, and he was just incredible. But the fact that I got to do that, and I saw, my dad running through the woods, like, with joy, and then Johnny coming off the hill, and like, him being a huge part in why I was successful. It wasn't anything I did on that specific occasion. It was just being a part of that. And then the fact that we were like, okay, we have two options on how to get this deer out. And so we go back up where the trucks are, and I was like, yeah, I go, I have my frame pack here, we'll cut them up and take them out. And Johnny's kept trying to convince me. He's like, no, he's like, we got to have this deer hanging back at camp, this is something special, like we don't want just the head and the meat being in the cooler. He's like, let's get it back. I was like, all right, well, dragging up over this hill isn't going to be fun. He's like, well, I think we can go down and cross this creek down at the bottom. And I was like, I remember going across there with you before scouting, and it was like a river. And he's like, yeah, you'll be fine. He's like, me and your dad will take the truck around. It's going to take them like an hour to drive around, and you drag it down. We'll meet you at the water. And I was like, okay. So I get down there, and this creek was not a creek. It was a river that was literally, I don't know, 100 yards, 80 yards wide and deep. And I had a pair of hip waders in my truck that I told Johnny just to put on. I said, I'll go through the water. But the river was flowing so fast that I tied my buck to my belt loop with paracord, because I said, if this goes down, I'm going down with it. Like, I'm not losing this deer.
You don't have dependents, right? You're fine, right?
No, I don't have any kids. So I was like, you know what, this is, and if I go down that way, that's a pretty epic story, I would say. And so against better judgment, that's what I did. And pulled it across and got it up the bank. We had a steep bank to get it up to the road, and we got it up to the road there, and kind of hid down over the bank, make sure no traffic was coming, so no one saw us dragging this big deer out. And then took it, threw it in the back, and we were just so pumped, and went back to camp. I took a shower and dried off, basically gotten some dry clothes, and all my entire family, all friends, everything just came to camp, and told the story, 30 times over, each time getting a little bit more exaggerated, like a good hunting story is. First the river was like, you could step across it. By the end of it, I'm swimming across it, and there's sharks. No. But it was just the picture perfect, like, just because a lot of times for me, I feel like deer hunting is like a very solo endeavor, and you can take it very serious, which is fun. Like, I love that aspect of it, but I also love the camaraderie of deer camp, and, being able to be with my dad and, one of my best friends and hunting buddies, Johnny. Like, that made it one of my favorite ones and favorite days that I remember. And also something that I never really loved hunting rifle season, not as much about the weapon choice as much as, like, the amount of people that were out. Like
Yeah.
I felt like it was difficult to hunt deer the way deer are and stuff. But I like once I kind of changed my mindset of just like, okay, this is going to be different than how you archery hunt, and use that pressure to your advantage, use those things, and be able to do that. I've actually come to enjoy rifle hunting when I get the opportunity to. So it was just one of those experiences that after a long season of kind of struggling to get an opportunity, it ended up all working out.